creaking timbers. Once he's satisfied the mine is safe, only then does he allow the rest of the men to come in the mine. He assigns the men their work locations. So you work where the foreman tells you to work. Now on the outside of this office here, you're going to notice a board that has the name of all the miners who work in this section of the mine. The first thing the miner did when he came in was peg in next to his name, went and mined his coal. Last thing he did before he went home was peg out next to his name. The foreman had to stay until all the miners were pegged out and accounted for, and then he would go home. So yes, he was the first one in and the last one out every day. That meant for a very long shift with a lot of responsibility. So, follow me. Yeah. Alright, step up, take a look in here, get closer, look up into this chamber. This is about an average sized work area, by the way. Average thickness of a bed of coal in this region is 3.2 feet. So your average working chamber is 3.2 feet. Now, they mine beds of coal in this region anywhere from about 18 inches on up, by the way. So 18 inches is slightly larger than half the size of this chamber. So if you think this looks bad, picture that. Now, I will say that chain conveyor system that I showed you a little bit earlier wouldn't be real popular in here, right? There's gases being pulled through this chamber by the ventilation system. They're going to be forming up there, or they're going to be traveling through here at some point. Point is, you don't want to spark in here, set anything off. So that chain conveyor system sparks. Since it's so close to the roof here, you can't use it. Now, you prefer to use gravity, because a gravity chute is a very simple system. I'll explain that in a minute, but if you still can't use gravity because it's not steep enough, you're going to use this. This is called a shaker chute. There is no chain conveyor in this system. How it works is fairly simple. The chute is hooked up to the motor. When you start the motor takes the entire chute and throws it forward just a short distance. As the chute thrusts forward, the coal sitting in that chute will move. Once that coal is moving forward, what the motor does is abruptly pull the chute out from underneath the moving coal. And by the time that coal slows down, because the chute's reversed, the motor's already throwing the chute forward again. So it does keep the coal moving forward. It's also less dusty and less noisy, but the main thing is it doesn't spark, and that's what's important. The biggest thing about it is, of course, it doesn't set itself up and tear itself down. Now, you may not be thinking about that. Let me explain why we did. Keep in mind that eventually it's going to be about 350 feet to the next level. That means as you mine further into this chamber, you're going to have to extend the chute closer up to where you're working, and that means dragging sections of this thing up the side of the mountain behind you, eventually about the length of a football field. It doesn't do real well on your back, knees, hands, elbows. You get the idea. To say nothing, when you're done here, you're going to tear it apart and remove it completely, and that's pretty much all in one shot. And keep in mind, you don't get paid for moving this stuff. You get paid for mining coal. So you get your buddies, you have a moving party. But dragging this stuff downhill isn't a whole lot easier than dragging it uphill. That's the point. It's back-breaking work, of course. So what we always prefer to use is gravity to move our coal. And you'll see a gravity chute in a minute. When you do, you'll understand why. It's a very simple, flimsy system. What we did was you took a flat piece of metal, you drag that piece of metal up there with a couple of boards that you would attach to the sides to stop the coal from sliding off as it slid down. Very simple. When you were done with it, you tear it apart, you drag little pieces out as opposed to these back-breaking sections of metal. And you get the idea pretty much there, right? All right. Earlier somebody asked me about the ventilation system. This is how the ventilation system